Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we gon' dive deep into a story about some of these no-good men out here, who enjoy having oral satisfaction done on them but are stingy when it comes to reciprocating oral pleasure done on us. I remember it like it was yesterday, as a matter of fact. It was last night. Listen as I tell you the unexpected turn my evening took, you won't believe it. Stick around until the end of this video to hear the details. I'm going to reveal the secret to igniting a spark that could change your life, just like it did mine. I stood in line at the local grocery store, my mind already envisioning the cozy night ahead while binge-watching Netflix. My fingers grazed over the array of chips and popcorn, considering my options when, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a tall, dark, and handsome stranger. Our eyes locked for a brief moment, his intense gaze pierced me like a bolt of lightning. He looked away quickly, seemingly lost in his thoughts, but the lingering connection sent shivers down my spine. "Focus," I whispered to myself, shaking off the surprising encounter and reaching for a bag of spicy nacho chips. As I turned to continue my snack hunt, fate seemed to intervene once more. The stranger fumbled with his wallet, dropping it on the floor. Cards and cash scattered like leaves in a whirlwind. Without a second thought, I crouched down beside him, our hands inadvertently brushing against each other as we collected his belongings. His deep brown eyes widened in surprise, a subtle mixture of gratitude and confusion dancing across his chiseled features. "Thank you," he muttered, his voice surprisingly gentle for such a striking figure. "Of course," I replied, handing him the credit card I had picked up. "It happens to the best of us." I could feel my cheeks flushing, heat radiating off my skin. Was he making me nervous or was it just the close proximity? When it came time to pay for our groceries, a light chuckle escaped his lips as he offered to cover my items as a thank you for helping him. I shook my head, insisting on paying for my own snacks. "I appreciate the offer, but it's really not necessary," I said, trying to sound confident, though my heart raced in my chest. "Very well," he relented, a small smile playing on his lips. "Then allow me to repay your kindness with a dinner invitation. And don't even think about rejecting my offer, it's the least I can do." "All right," I agreed, curiosity piqued and excitement building in the pit of my stomach. "I accept your invitation." "Excellent," he said, his eyes twinkling with anticipation. "I promise you won't regret it." The night of our dinner date arrived, and the anticipation sent shivers down my spine. As I slid into a form-fitting black dress, I couldn't help but wonder what Damien had in store for me. Would this evening live up to the electric chemistry we had shared at the grocery store? We met at an intimate, candlelit restaurant. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating an atmosphere ripe for sharing secrets. As we sat across from each other, our knees brushed lightly, sending jolts of electricity through my body. I could feel the heat between us simmering, threatening to boil over. "Lisa," he said, his voice deep and rich as he raised his glass of red wine, "to new encounters and the mysteries they hold." "Cheers," I replied, clinking my glass against his. Our eyes locked, and it felt as if time stood still for just a moment. As we savored our meal, the conversation flowed effortlessly. We began by discussing our favorite books and films, gradually delving deeper into our personal lives. With each passing course, we revealed more of ourselves, layer by layer, like peeling back the petals of a fragrant rose. "Have you ever had a fantasy that you've been too afraid to share with anyone?" Damien asked, his dark eyes searching mine for any hint of hesitation. I hesitated but decided to take the plunge. "Well, there is one," I confessed, feeling my cheeks flush with vulnerability. "I've always wanted to be swept away by a secret lover, taken to a hidden place where we can explore our desires without restraint." "Ah," he murmured, leaning closer, his breath warm against my ear. "There's something incredibly alluring about the forbidden, isn't there?" "Absolutely," I agreed, my heart pounding in my chest. It was exhilarating to share such an intimate part of myself with someone who seemed to understand. "What about you? Do you have any fantasies?" "Plenty," he admitted, his eyes glinting mischievously in the candlelight. "But one that has always haunted me is the idea of finding my true love, a soulmate who can ignite my passions and challenge me to become the best version of myself." As the evening progressed, we continued to engage in meaningful conversations. I learned about Damien's dreams and aspirations, how he yearned to make a difference in the world and create art that would leave a lasting impression. He listened intently as I shared my ambitions, nodding thoughtfully and offering words of encouragement. "Lisa," he said, his voice soft and sincere, "I truly believe that everyone has a purpose in this world, a unique gift that they are meant to share. And from what I've seen so far, I think your gift is the ability to connect with others on a profound level." "Thank you, Damien," I whispered, touched by his insight. "That means more to me than you know." The night was far from over, and yet it felt like we had already journeyed together through a lifetime of experiences. As we sat there, basking in the glow of our newfound connection, I knew that whatever lay ahead, our path was destined to be entwined. The clink of silverware against porcelain and the soft murmur of conversation filled the air as we navigated our way through the culinary offerings of the evening. Despite the deep connection we'd formed, there were moments when the imperfections of our date made themselves known, like the time I accidentally knocked over a glass of water, or when Damien's laughter at one of my jokes was met by disapproving glances from nearby diners. "Have you ever tried escargot?" he asked, raising an eyebrow as he pointed to the menu. "Never," I replied, wrinkling my nose in apprehension. "I'm not sure I could stomach it." "Ah, well, to each their own," he said, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "I suppose we can't agree on everything." As we shared a dessert that neither of us seemed particularly fond of, I couldn't help but allow doubt to creep into my thoughts. Maybe we weren't as compatible as I'd initially believed. But then, as we stood outside the restaurant beneath the glow of a flickering street lamp, the warmth of our lingering conversation washed away my uncertainties. "Lisa, have you ever been to the old art gallery on the edge of town?" Damien inquired, a hint of excitement in his voice. "Can't say I have," I admitted, curiosity piqued. "Why do you ask? Would you like to see it?" His eyes held a mischievous sparkle. "It's a bit unconventional, but I think it would be a fitting end to our night." "Lead the way," I agreed, feeling adventurous. And so we found ourselves walking arm in arm toward his car, our steps in sync as we delved into stories about our favorite artists and exhibitions. Upon arriving at his house, a beautifully restored Gothic mansion, Damien ushered me inside. The grand entranceway was dimly lit by a few strategically placed candles, casting dramatic shadows on the ornate wallpaper. I felt my pulse quicken in anticipation. "Welcome," he murmured, his intense gaze holding mine captive. "I want to show you something special." As he leaned in, hesitating just a fraction of a second, our lips met in a tentative, electrifying kiss that sent shivers down my spine. My heart raced, and I knew that despite the imperfect moments we'd shared, there was something extraordinary brewing between us. "Come with me," he whispered against my lips, leading me further into his mysterious world. Our journey had only just begun, but I couldn't deny the allure of the unknown. With each step, I found myself drawn deeper into Damien's enigmatic embrace, wondering what secrets lay hidden within the walls of his ancestral home, and within his heart. "Are you sure about this?" Damien asked, the concern in his voice evident as he studied my face. "Positive," I murmured, feeling both excited and nervous by the intimacy that was unfolding between us. My heart thundered in my chest, echoing the unspoken desires that lingered in the air. "All right," he breathed, his eyes dark and intense as they locked onto mine. With a slow, deliberate motion, he lowered himself to his knees before me, his hands gently resting on my hips. As the soft fabric of my dress pooled around my waist, I couldn't help but shiver at the cool air brushing against my exposed skin. Damien's warm breath ghosted over my sensitive flesh, causing me to tremble with anticipation. "Relax," he whispered, sensing my tension. "I want to make you feel incredible." His words were like a soothing balm, calming my racing thoughts and allowing my body to yield to the sensations building within me. With each delicate stroke of his tongue, each teasing nip of his teeth, I felt myself spiraling further into an abyss of pleasure that seemed to defy description. "Damien," I moaned, my fingers threading through his hair as if to anchor myself in reality. The intensity of his gaze never wavered, even as his lips and tongue worked their magic, leaving me breathless and desperate for more. "Please, don't stop," I whimpered, my voice barely more than a whisper. "Never," he vowed, his words vibrating against my sensitive skin and sending another surge of desire coursing through my veins. He continued his exquisite ministrations, expertly guiding me toward a peak that threatened to consume me whole. As the pressure built, my vision blurred, and all I could focus on was the delectable sensation of his mouth on me, the skillful way he navigated my body, drawing me closer and closer to the edge. Damien. I cried out as the world around me shattered, my body trembling with the force of my release. He held me steady, his strong arms encircling my waist as I rode out the waves of bliss that washed over me. Down at him, my eyes filled with awe and gratitude. That was unbelievable, I stammered, still reeling from the experience. Anything for you, he replied softly, a hint of pride and satisfaction in his voice. As he rose to his feet, our lips met once more in a tender, passionate kiss that seemed to promise even more unimaginable delights. You see, I couldn't have predicted that a gender that enjoys having oral satisfaction done on them but is stingy when it comes to reciprocating would eat the hell out of me. But these wouldn't have been possible if not for the genuine kindness I showed when helping him with his dropped wallet. Seemed to break down the initial barrier between us. Friendly conversation we engaged in about our grocery lists and favorite foods, creating an easy rapport. Decision to pay for my groceries even when he insisted on covering my bills demonstrated my independence. Genuine laughs over the small mishap that helped turn an awkward situation into a shared joke. Openness and vulnerability during our dinner conversation created a deeper emotional connection and comfort between them. So, remember, finding a meaningful connection isn't about perfection. It's about being kind, friendly, independent.